Super Bears home, boy.
It's really scary because I think in the beginning of this, we were all kind of under the impression that this was something that was attacking the older people, and so that really scared me for like even my mom. Like, so my mom visits my grandma every day. She's at senior living, and senior living, someone comes and delivers her medicine, her food.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's just a lot of people, and so I didn't want to freak out my grandma, so I called her and I tried to explain. She doesn't watch anything but forensic files and like really weird stuff. So she watches the same episode. She always tells you before it happens what's going to happen because she's seen every episode 100 times. She's like a total insomniac. She stays up and she like literally remembers. She like talks along with what's happening on TV. It's nuts. But I called her. I'm like, obviously you're not going to watch the news because it's not on one of the repeats. And I didn't want to freak her out, but I wanted her to make sure she was protecting herself. And so that really scared me just because I had to, at one point now, kind of like parent my grandparent, which felt really strange.
Yeah.
But then my mom also has such a hard time stopping because she's had 5 kids and she's so used to going. The fact that we were kind of dangerous and could jeopardize her health made it where we couldn't see my mom because she sees her mom. And so that really gave my mom anxiety because I haven't seen her in probably 3 weeks, and that never happens. So it's just interesting now because we're starting to see that this isn't something that's just attacking immune compromised or older people, but the kids that are in really great health are finding themselves in the ICU. And so we're just learning new things every single day. And I think that's why we have to be so gentle, is because we need to keep ourselves in a, you know, what's something that you can use to filter helpful thoughts versus hurtful thoughts. Because I know this is a time where the ants just totally want to attack our brain. And I think when things like this are happening, we love to be future telling. We love to be psychics where we know what's going to happen and we really don't know anything. And it can just give us anxiety. What do you use to keep yourself helpful?
Communicating with like women I respect, you know, like I have a few older women that I look up to that aren't in the industry. I call them, and I think talking through what it is you're feeling is extremely helpful. And I think there's wisdom in all of this with women and with other people, and all of my friends as well will get on calls, or you know, we'll just talk to each other, but sometimes I have to feel it, Miley. Sometimes I gotta cry it out and I've got to release it and just take a deep breath and then remind myself, you know, go back to my tools, which is, okay, where is this coming from? I understand I'm a big empath, so I feel so much of what the world is feeling, so maybe I need to take a step back from that, or whatever it is, but also just being there for other people actually helps me too.
I agree.
So
it gives me so much light in this time just to be able to connect with people, like you said, people I respect and people that I love and want to hear their advice, but just to know people are there and just to know that people are feeling the same way that I feel makes me feel less alone. You know, so what's your advice for someone who's afraid to talk about mental health? Like, where would you tell people to reach out? I know you work with crisis text line 741-741, and I know someone will respond. So is that something that you would say to reach out to, or like, how do you talk about mental health?
So recently I went to one of the best mental hospitals in the world, but definitely in America, McLean's Hospital, and I discussed that after years of going through a lot of different things, I realized that I was bipolar. And so when I go to know more information, it actually helps me. It doesn't scare me once I know it. And I think people get scared of that, right? They're like, oh, and I've seen it, and I've seen some of it even in my own family where I'm like, what's going on? Where it's just, I'm from Texas. It's not known to like talk about your mental health, or you got to seem cool. And then I see anger built up in children, teenagers, or whatever, young adults, because they are wanting that so badly. And so I just feel like when I finally said what I was going to say, I wanted to know everything about it, and it took the fear away. It was like when when I was younger, I was scared of thunderstorms, and my mom bought me all these different books on thunderstorms. So she's like, the more that you educate yourself on this, the more that you're not going to be afraid. And it completely worked. And that's kind of something that helps me big time.
That's really good advice. I really like that about buying the books about thunderstorms, because when you do understand something, you don't think, hey, this is just happening to me. Because when something's just happening to you, then you can't kind of find some sense of, you know, maybe tools that you can
Right.
use, and it'll give you a sense of like, there's things that I can do, like therapy, that can make me understand parts. I was actually talking about parts of my personality that if I let them control me, they can become negative. But if I learn how to kind of use them for good, like I have, you know, OCD, like I'm pretty obsessive. At a time when I was younger, it used to really drive me, you know, kind of made me feel like I was just too different. I didn't really understand it. And I used to like alphabetize things. Like I couldn't, like I would throw these total fits if I couldn't alphabetize things and all these different things. But now it's been able to help me to kind of learn about it and be able to use it for good, and use it for doing things like this and staying organized, but then also just be able to understand it more. And so it's just really important to understand something that you're relating with, or just doing research, and it's a really good tool. You know, so what I wanted to ask you were, you know, besides obviously like your therapist, what are some reliable sources that are like really close to you in your life? You know, like crisis text hotline, or what are some organizations that you support that you would encourage people to look into?
So I recently, along with we were selling some stuff, is that we were donating to the Recording Academy. I had Justin Tranter, who is one of my writers that I work with all the time, and I love him so much. He sent a mass text to people saying this is definitely going to affect our music community, and music makes, I mean, as you know, music makes you feel, makes you happy, and makes you explore different things. And so, you know, the Music Cares is like a part of that as well. So I've donated to both of them because that's also a side of my people. So I'm doing like, you know, I'm trying to do hospitals, and then I'm going to be working with Music Cares, and then I'm not going to stop, because I feel, you know, and I talk to my team daily. I'm like, where's the holes here? Where's the things that I can be placed to help in any way possible? So, yeah, there's a couple of other things, but
I love Music Cares. We actually were talking about Music Cares and the struggles that independent artists will have with concerts being canceled and venues. And I love what Live Nation is doing with Crew Nation, taking care of all the crews. So people are really stepping up in our community, which makes me really, really happy and proud to be a part of it.
Yes.
Before we go, I wanted to talk about this tool that I have that's called Feel Great Anywhere, Anytime, and it's from my therapist, Dr. Amen. And it's about anchoring yourself. So in times where like anxiety, Okay. So this is the one thing I wanted to ask you. So it's about anchoring yourself. You know, anxiety can really make us kind of feel, you know, that floating feeling where you feel like there's no weight in your feet or your hands. And so you really have to like find the gravity and let it like just anchor you. So Dr. Amen has this trick, Feel Great Anywhere, Anytime, where you anchor yourself to a memory. So even if you're traveling and you have a suitcase, and I was saying that, you know, when I see, you know, like in my suitcase, if I had a yellow sweatshirt, it would remind me of bananas. And one time, me and my brother decided we didn't like the way that my parents were running the house. So we were going to live inside our dollhouse, my dollhouse that I had outside. But we only took bananas. And by like the second hour, we were so over the bananas that we were like sneaking over to our grandma's house and getting like all her little sweet treats and Chex Mix and all these things. So it reminds me of, the yellow reminds me of bananas, which reminds me of my brother. And then it reminds me of my childhood and how fortunate I was to have a playmate, because some people don't have brothers and sisters that you can play with. And so I was just so lucky to have that. So that anchors me. What's like a memory in your life or something around you that reminds you, or what's a memory in your life that you like to think about in times where you feel that floaty feeling? It's a really beautiful memory.
Yeah. Wow. Probably when my sister was born, because I was an only child growing up. So I didn't have, my sister's 6. So big age difference. But when when she came into my life, I remember having the chest to chest moment.
Yeah.
And so when I think of that moment, you know, and it's working, it's working right now, where I just, that nothing else mattered in that time, and this beautiful life just came in, and I just was overwhelmed. And I think what makes me think of that is like baby smell, you know, like something that's really, really sweet. And it brings me back to life. You know, it's a life, and it's a part of me in a weird way. So I feel like
your little sister is 6.
Yeah.
Okay, so my little sister just turned 20. It'll change. It will change. Right now, I go between being like the coolest person in the world in her life to like she doesn't know me.
Yeah, right.
So that'll happen. She won't know you at a period of her life. Someone's gonna say like, "Oh, your sister Selena's cool," and she goes, "Who's that? I don't know her."
Exactly. Oh no, you're so
yeah, she'll
right.
not know you for a couple of years. That's what happens every now and then. Or like, you know, I'll run into now know what kind of goes out. So if I like run into her out and you wave, and she's like, "I don't know her." She doesn't quite, I don't know me yet, but like it's on the way. It's creeping in, but it'll then come back around.
I think so.
Yeah, it comes back around. Me and my little sister Noah's 20 and I'm 27, and so I give it a couple of years, and I think I'll be really cool again.
Yeah, I'm still in the cool zone.
That's awesome. I'm so happy to have you on the show and happy to reconnect with you, and send me butterflies anytime. When all this is moved on and we can connect, we'll just hug.
Would love that. Thank you, and thank you for what you're doing.
Thanks, Selena. Good to see you.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, my dog is like banging on the door. Hold on. Come here. Come here, puppy. What are you doing? Oh. No,